This conference will now be recorded.
In yesterday's session, we were discussing about what is pod, what is static pod, why we should not create a pod, and what is the pod life cycle. We were discussing, and also we were discussing about different status, pod status. Like what do you mean by crash loop backup? What do you mean by image pull backup or error image pull? What do you mean by pending? Still, I see people are posting messages. I'm getting error, image pull backup error, sir. Do we have a Sujay Raja in the class? Sujay, are you there in the class? Sujay Raja. The Raja is not there in the class. The Raja want to attend only, he don't want to attend the classes, but he want to only go through the recordings. Yesterday in class, did we clearly discuss what is error image pull or image pull backup, in which scenario we are going to get that? That's the problem with students. They are not regular, they don't attend the classes, they are thinking that they are experts, or maybe they are thinking that they don't want to learn, not sure. They will have these type of issues. If you are regular, if you are attending the classes, at least will you able to understand what is already discussed. What do you mean by that error image pull or image pull backup? These type of issues you can easily understand. But anyhow, I am not sure why he is not attending. That's up to him. uh, and he is not there in the class also. Guys, I will respond, and also if you know the solution, you can also respond. What is the problem? You can also respond so that you can improve your skills also. The more errors you read, the more errors you understand, you will improve the technology. You will become an expert in the tool also. So definitely you will get errors, but at the same time you need to understand that error and identify and fix. I already told what is error image pull backup, but I saw that message morning, but I could not reply. Later I'll reply. But meantime, if anyone also want to reply, you can reply. What do you mean by that error? If you already know, not only this one, anything. Now let's continue. It is not recommended to create a pod. Yesterday we were discussing. That's why we have a controllers like replication controller. Using replication controller, am I able to create and manage my pods? Will I able to scale up, scale down my pods? Yes. So let me connect to my cluster. Let me connect to my cluster. Let me connect to my cluster. Now here, I have a 3-node Kubernetes cluster. First and foremost thing is verify your nodes are ready or not. My nodes are fine. I don't have any issues. Now, do I have some application hosted in this namespace, and do I have some application hosted in the default namespace also? Like this. But this is directly a pod. This is directly a pod, a normal pod. If this pod goes down, do I have any controller which will take care? No. But the other application which I have deployed, this is these parts are managed by this controller called replication controller. Now desired 3, current 3, ready 3. What do you mean by this desired 3 here? Is it am I expecting 3 pods? Am I expecting 3 pods? Yes. And currently do we have a 3 pods? Currently do we have a 3 pods, 3 replicas? And what do you mean by ready? Is all are ready? Is all are running? Yes. Now, as I already told, by default, does your pods get scheduled on the master? If you see, I'm using this option -o wide option. Is my pods are getting scheduled in the master? If you observe, no. Why? Why must? Why in master the pod is not getting scheduled? Whatever we are deploying, as I already told, do we have a taints on the master? Some taint. Are we tolerating the taint in pod manifest? No. So I will explain what is taints, what is tolerations. I will explain later. For now, it is not scheduled in the master. But in one of the node, do I have a two pods? In one of the node, I have a two pods, like 93. There are two pods. Now, anytime, will I able to scale up, scale down imperatively or declaratively also? Manual scaling. Now here, let's say in my YML, I have replica as 1. If I apply that, now how many replicas will be there? If I apply that, how many replicas will be there in my YML? Replica is 1. So now can I see only one replica instead of 3 replicas? Now when I see the service, when I see the service endpoints, now do I have only one endpoint for that service, one pod? That is this pod IP. Now let me access from outside or inside, that doesn't matter. Let me access from outside or inside, that doesn't matter. Guys, understand the concept. Don't by heart commands. Balaji sir is explaining this command, Bhaskar sir is executing this command, like that. Understand the concept. Don't by heart anything. So you can easily learn the subject. So now let me access that application via that service. What is the node IP? What is that node port? Let's see. kubectl get all. On which port it is exposed outside? What is that port? 31518. 31518. I am going to use that 31518. And in whatever node I have opened that port. Suppose I have opened that port in the master node. Let me maximize for some time. Let's say I have opened that node in the master 31518. Let's see. I have opened here. Yeah, I have opened here. Let me take the master machine public IP. Let me access outside. And my application context is this maven-web application. Am I able to access that application which is running as a pod in my Kubernetes cluster? Now, I have only one pod. Let's say I am intentionally deleting that pod. That pod can go down for any reason. Let's say if this node goes down. What Kubernetes will do? Maximum what Kubernetes will do? Whatever pods which is running on that node, does Kubernetes will try to create in another node? Yes. But will it do immediately? No. It will wait for some time. Like 5 minutes, considering that that node may recover itself. That server may recover itself, wait for some time. Even after 5 minutes, if it is not ready, if it is still down, does Kubernetes will take some action? We have different controllers like node controller. Does that node controller will look after that node? If it is not working, is it going to make some action? Yes. So it will shift the pod. Now I am intentionally deleting the pod. in that namespace. I have only one replica. Now do I have a downtime? Since I have only one replica, do I have a downtime in my application? If you see, is my application is accessible for some time? Do I have some kind of a 10 seconds or 30 seconds outage in my application? So in actual environments, are you going to deploy one replica? Only one replica? Any application, whether it's a critical application, Whether it's a normal application, only one replica? No. Minimum, are you going to have two replicas? Minimum, are you going to have a two replicas? But maximum, that is depends on what? Maximum, that is depends on the load on that application, how much load we have on that application. Now, let me scale. Now I can scale imperatively or declaratively. Let me scale it now to two replicas. This is manual scaling only. I'm scaling this one. Now how many replicas I have, which means how many pods I have now? How many pods I have? Two. So now is my service has two endpoints. Whatever service I created for that application, they have a service with two endpoints now. Now when I am accessing via that service from outside or inside, does the service will act as a load balancing in the cluster between these two pods? Yes. Now let me intentionally delete now also one of the pod, get pods. I am intentionally deleting one of the pod. Sorry, delete pod name. In which namespace I have that one, I am having in test NS. But if you see, still, am I able to access my application other pod? Is it started routing the traffic to other pod? But if you observe, there was a small glitch. There was a small glitch, like a fraction of seconds, because it was trying to route that pod. That pod was terminated, but within a fraction of seconds, was it redirecting the traffic to other pod because that endpoint is not there? It is removed. But again, service is doing its job. Service is doing its job, but at the same time, is your controller is doing its job? Is that controller recreated that pod again? Whatever replica was went down. Is everyone clear what is pod, what is service, what service is doing, what pod is doing, what controller is doing, that replication controller? If I'm directly creating a pods, if pod goes down, does these pods will be replicated or rescheduled again? No. That is replication controller. Now, if I want to delete that application permanently, which one I need to delete, guys? If I delete the pods, does that application will be deleted from the cluster? No. I need to delete RC. Can I do something like this imperatively? Can I do something like this imperatively? kubectl delete RC, my RC name, replication controller name. Can I do like this? If I delete this controller, is it going to delete the pods created and managed by that controller? Yes, it is going to delete that pods also, because you are deleting the controller itself. Like in your AWS auto scaling group, you are creating you are deleting auto scaling group. Is it deleting the servers also, whatever is created and managed by that auto scaling? Yes. So now if I am deleting this replication controller, is it going to delete the pods which is created and managed by that controller, replication controller? Yes. Now this is imperatively. Can I do like this also? Delete -f that file name, Maven web app that RC. But this manifest file has a RC as well as service. Does both gets deleted now? If I execute like this, does both get deleted, service as well as controller also? Yes. So that is how you can delete. Is everyone clear what is replication controller? Now, like this, can I create n number of replication controllers to deploy n number of microservices? Suppose this is one application. Can I create another replication controller for deploying another application? Let's say this application. Let's take this application, Node.js application. Instead of creating a pod like this, can I create a replication controller for this one also? But Do I need to make sure I have enough nodes, enough resources available in the cluster? We already discussed that. If I don't have enough nodes, enough resources, it will not able to work. Now let's say it is recommended to use resources at least. So if I have some nodes, I already have some nodes, sorry, some pods reserved some CPU and memory. Here, if I am requesting again some CPU and memory, does the kubelet, I mean to say, does the scheduler will try to do some kind of a mathematics in the background? What is the current capacity of the node, and already how many pods are there, and each pod how much CPU, how much memory they have requested? Is it going to do some kind of a mathematics and identify how much is left? And if whatever is left, it is greater than whatever we are requesting for this application, then will it allow? Whatever is available is greater than whatever we are requesting here. Already some parts are scheduled, and after calculating all these things, we have few resources left. If it is greater than whatever we are going to request here, then it will allow. If it is less than whatever we are requesting here, does your scheduler will schedule the pods to nodes? No, it will be in a pending state. But as of now, I am not using any resource request concept here. So is it going to calculate like that? How many parts are already running? How much it is going? So it will blindly allow. It will blindly allow. In that case, will you have a problems? Will you encounter a problems if you deploy lot of things? Containers will get deployed. Containers will take CPU and memory from the server. If the server doesn't have enough CPU and memory, does your kubelet also get impacted? The agent also gets impacted. Not only agent, does other applications, other parts, other containers also will be impacted? The whole system gets impacted. So you need to follow some standards. Okay. Now let me deploy this one also for now like this. Let me edit this. Instead of pod, can I create a controller like replication controller? What is the API version for replication controller? V1. Now metadata. This metadata is for what? For replication controller. Labels are not mandatory, but here is the specification is same. Is the specification is same for every resource? No. So yesterday someone was asking, sir, how do I know what is the specification? Will you able to refer the official document? Will you able to refer the official document where we have the details? What is what? Kubernetes workloads. Kubernetes workloads. If I go here, we have a deployment, we have a replica set like this. Now, if I go to that one, I can understand Kubernetes API specifications. Kubernetes API specifications. So we have some documents here. You can understand what is what under that, which one. Now let's say there are a lot of things here. You can understand all these things. Otherwise, you can use some editors in real time. Can I use some editor like this Visual Studio Code? But I don't suggest now. I don't suggest now, because if you use these editors, can I install some plugins? Can I install some plugins that can auto populate or auto suggest? Yes, but I will not suggest now. When you are learning, I will not suggest, because you need to know what is what. Sometimes in the interviews they'll ask to write manifest. If you start typing everything, will you able to understand what is what is pod, what is service, what is deployment, why you are doing that? You will be able to understand if you start typing everything. Now here, In Microsoft, this Visual Studio Code, you can go to these extensions. You can go to these extensions. You can install one extension called Kubernetes plugin. Kubernetes Visual Studio plugin. So if you want to work with Kubernetes, you can install this plugin. I will give the link. I will give the link. This Kubernetes plugin, you can go to that Kubernetes, search with Kubernetes here, and install whatever is provided by Microsoft itself. Kubernetes, whatever is provided by Microsoft itself. This one, I already installed. If I have this plugin installed, now you can open this Visual Studio Code, go to the file, click on new file, click on new file. First, you need to select the language. You will see some option like this. Select the language as YAML. Select the language as YAML. Now, if I type something like this, deployment, is it giving some option like this, Kubernetes deployment? Suppose, let me show it again. Select the language here, YAML. Now, the moment I say pod, POD, is it giving one option like Kubernetes pod? Who is giving this option? Auto suggestion or auto population? Is this provided by that extension, that plugin? Yes. Now I can use something like this plugin. It is pre-populating, but do I need to update as per my requirement? What is my container name? What is my image? How much resource request and limits? What is my container port? Similarly, I want to create a service. Is it giving one option called Kubernetes service like this? Can I do something like this? If I want to create a replication controller also, replication controller also, yes. Guys, you no need to worry if you start practicing this, even though you don't have a plugin. If you start practicing, will you able to write everything on your own, like the way I am writing? Am I using this plugin anytime? Am I able to type? The experience, that is what we call it as an experience, right? If you start practicing, start typing all these things, that is what we call it as an experience. So these type of plugins will be supported by a lot of IDEs like STS, Visual Studio Code, IntelliJ, Eclipse. These type of plugins will be offered in any IDEs, integrated development environments. Otherwise, I can use one more option, kind of a dry run. What do you mean by dry run? Let me stop this one. Now, kubectl run hyphen that kubectl run something like this, nginx hyphen image equals to nginx like this, hyphen port, or I think hyphen container port, this one. One second, let me use that imperative because we no need to remember all these things. Kubectl commands. There is official website. I have gave the link also. Now I want to create some pod. Can I use something like this? Can I use something like this? Labels also, if I want to add port also, I have to add. Here you can see all the options. Now imperatively, can I do something like this also? Now let's say I want to create a pod. This is my pod. Image, whatever image, nginx. Labels, these are the labels. Like this, you can add labels, multiple labels also, comma separated, like this. Now some other options, hyphen port, that is your container port. Let's say this is running on port 80, hyphen port equals to 80. Now hyphen n, whatever namespace, whether it's a default or whatever. Can I do something like this? Hyphen dry run. Now let me execute this first. These type of things will help you to make things fast. Now, dry run. Dry run equals to client, or I can give something like this. Now, can I do this something like this? -o, -o, YAML option. Now, is it going to show something like this? Even though I am executing with the dry run option, -o, YML. Is it showing some kind of a YML like this? Now, can I append this YML? Can I append this YML to one file like this? Testpod.yaml. Now, can I go and modify that YML, that testpod.yaml? Can I update as per my requirement? Whatever fields I want to keep, I can keep those fields. I can remove other fields like this. Can I update as per my requirement now? This is also one option. You can use dry run. Not only for pod, can I do similar thing for deployment, similar thing for service also, kind of a dry run? We can do like this also. Like if you want to create a service, right? There is an option called expose. There is an option called expose. So can I do something like this? Expose with whatever options I want to use. Let's say something like this. If I want to expose pod, I need to use something like this. If it is a pod, if I want to expose RC, do I need to use something like this? Expose RC, that is your RC name. This is your port, target port, like this. It will generate one YML. Will I able to update and modify based on my requirement? You can see options for this expose. Similarly, create. If you want to create a deployment also, you can do that. Creating a deployment also, you can do that. Create a deployment, whatever you want to do this. But you are no need to depends on all these things. Based on the experience, will be able to write on your own once you are familiar with all these topics. Yes. But if you want to save some time, I want to improve the productivity, my productivity. Can I use this type of IDEs, editors with some plugins? Yes. So, but I don't encourage that now. I don't encourage that now. And again, does these plugins will support all the type of again objects? That depends. That depends. That depends. 1 second. That depends. 1 second. First option I will use. If you see, when I'm saying replica set, it is not supporting this plugin. I have a different plugin that is showing, but does whatever Kubernetes plugin I have told, is it supporting that replication set? I mean to say that replica set? No. So that depends on the plugin. But will you able to refer the documents, Google documents, Google official documents? You can refer and take the sample, or Google use some plugins like that. Yes. Based on that experience, you will get, guys, all these things. That's why we are saying practice. By practicing more and more, we'll be able to improve the speed also to write this type of manifest, deploying, and all those things. Yes. So I don't suggest this plugin for now. I don't want to install this plugin, this Kubernetes plugin. Kubernetes. Not only for Kubernetes, guys. Do I have a plugins to work on Terraform? Do I have a plugins to work on Terraform also? Yes. Now you can use this plugin. You just click on this plugin Kubernetes extension. So you open this one in your system, but make sure you have a Visual Studio Code already installed. In your system, you should have a Visual Studio Code already installed. Once your Visual Studio Code is installed in your laptop or desktop, you open this URL. If I click on this install, is it going to show? Is it going to open the Visual Studio Code, and is it going to install automatically like this? For me, it is already installed. That's why I no need to install again. You can install, but I don't suggest this one now. I don't suggest this now. Is everyone clear? How to write manifest? You can use this try run option or this type of IDEs also you can use. Now, let me start typing on my own. Let me start typing on my own so that you can easily understand what is what. Now, here, replicas. One. As I already told, if it is a replication controller, is this selector is mandatory? Like this? Whatever? No. It is optional. But instead of replication controller, if I am going to use a replica set or deployment, is this selector is mandatory? Yes, that is mandatory. If I am using, instead of replication controller, if I am using replica set or deployment or daemon set, this is mandatory. Now here we have a template. What is this template, guys? What is this template? This template is basically your pod template. Guys, this is a YML. How can I give the comments, or how can I comment something, or how can I give the comments? Can I use hash character? Yes. Now metadata, name, your pod name. But even though I am giving a name like this, node app pod, do you think your pod will be created with this name? Is your pods will be with this name even though you are giving a name like this? Does your pod will have a same name? No. Why? Because do I have an option to create a multiple replicas, more than one replica here? Yes. If it is a more than one replica, does Kubernetes will allow multiple pods with same names? No. So how then it is assigning the names? Is it assigning a name like your controller name, this controller name, and some random alphanumeric characters, that controller name and random alphanumeric characters? Okay. Now let me give labels here. What is this labels? Can I call this as a pod labels? Here I have given something else. Is it allowed to give something else here as a selector for replication controller? No. Now this is my pods metadata. Again spec. This is my pod specification. Can I have something like this? Someone was asking, sir, what is this hyphen? As I already explained in YML basics, what is this hyphen? In YML, wherever you see hyphen, that is plural, singular or plural, right? So we have a plural, that is array or list. So ports also something like this, because do have some containers which will be running on two types of ports, like maybe two ports. If you take Jenkins, does Jenkins has like a UI port, that web interface port, and slave port, like that? So wherever you see yes, kind of a yes plural, okay, that is like multiple. Okay. Now this is my replication controller. Now if I apply this, does replication controller will be created, and does that replication controller will create a pod? Now if I see kubectl get all hyphen n in that namespace. Now do I have one more replication controller here? Node.js replication controller, desired one, current one. So this pod is managed by whom? This pod, whatever pod which is getting created, this is managed by whom? Is it managed by this replication controller? Whatever I have highlighted. Yes. Now service. I already have a service. Service, I'm using same labels, whatever I'm using here as a selectors in my service. Now, can I see this pod details as an endpoint in this service? Now can I see one pod detail, like is that service is pointing to that pod? Is this service, Node.js service, is it pointing to this pod, that is 10.40.02, this pod? Because pod has a labels, pod has a labels. Now did I use those labels as a selectors in the service? Did I use those labels as a selector here? So this is my service selector. My pod has this label. Now if I scale this pod, replication controller, if I scale this replication controller, is it going to create another pod? Can I see that pod also has an endpoint in this service now? Like more than one pod? Yes. Now this is how it works. I can scale up, scale down. Imperatively also I can scale something like this, kubectl scale RC, my RC name. This is my RC name, replication controller name, hyphen replica, something like this. Is it possible to scale down to 0 also? Something like this. Now if you see why it is saying not found, because of the namespace. Now if you see, I have a replication controller. But desired as 0. The replication controller is still there, but desired as 0. So desired is 0. Because of that, is it terminating that pod? Now once the pod is terminated, even though I have a replication controller, I don't have a pod. Since pod is terminated, can I see any endpoints for that service? No. You can even scale it to 0 also. Now if I want to scale it to 2, 1 like this imperatively, or in YML also, can I do like this? Can I update replicas as 2 in my YML and apply declarative way? Yes. Now can I see 2 pods now? Both are running. Again, if they are not in a running state, if they are not ready, if here it is showing 0, does that pods will be reflected in your service endpoints? Even though pod is there, but will it reflect in service endpoints? No. Is everyone clear what is replication controller, how it works? Now, the way we have a replication controller, there are a lot of other controllers, other objects. The next one is replica set. Replica set. What is replica set? What is the difference between replication controller and replica set? This is common question. What is replica set? What is the difference between replication controller and replica set? Replica set also manages the pod replicas. Replica set is next generation or advanced version. I can say advanced version of what? Advanced version of next generation of replication controller. It's an advanced version of replication controller. So replica set also manages the pod life cycle, which means it will create and manage pods, and we can scale in, scale out the pod replicas. We can increase and decrease the pod replicas. Whatever we can do using replication controller, same thing with replica set. But what is the difference? Only difference between RC. What do you mean by RC? Replication controller. and only difference between RC and RS. What is RS stands for? In short name, RS stands for replica set. So only difference between RC and RS is in selector support. Selector support. So RC supports only equality based selector. Equality based selector, whereas RS supports both equality and set based selector. Set based selector. What do you mean by equality and what do you mean by set based? Basically expressions. So equality, what do you mean by equality? Equal conditions. What do you mean by equality? Equal conditions. Like a key equals to value. Here in my replication controller, and again selectors are not mandatory. And again selectors are not mandatory. Not mandatory in RC and in RS. In RS, selectors are mandatory. Selectors are mandatory. But even though it is not mandatory, I can use equality based selector. What do you mean by equality based selector? Equals condition, like a key value. Can I call this as a kind of a equals condition, like key double equals to value, like this? This is equality based condition. Now, if you see this manifest, whatever replication controllers we have created so far, this one, is it a equality selector here? Is it trying to compare equals, kind of a equals condition, key equals to value, just to make things clear, like a SQL? In SQL, equality condition, can I call something like this? Select star from employee where employee name equals to something like this. Is it kind of a equals condition? Is it going to return whatever records it is going to match with this column, this value? Only matching records, equals. Is it similar to this here in Kubernetes, this selector? Is it kind of a equal condition? Yes. But when I am using replica set, is it going to support set based expressions? Expressions like this. Just to make it simple, I am writing a SQL query, something like this. Select a star from employee where employee name in something like this, Balaji, or something like this, Balaji Reddy, something like this. Can I call this as an expression? Set based or expressions? In, not in, operators. In, not in, not in, like this kind of operators. Does this type of selector supports by RC? Does this type of things will be selected by RC? No. But you are not going to write like this. I am just giving an example. So only difference comes in this one. So let me show you. Let me show you how different it is. So let's say this is my replication controller. Let's say this is my replication controller. What is the only difference between this replication controller and replica set? One second. Let me create one more file. Now let me split my window. This is window 1. This is window 2. Now only difference is one is kind. When I am using replication set, when I am using replica set, what is the kind? It will be something like this. Kind will be replica set. And what is the API version for replica set? What is the API version for replica set? Is it V1? No. It is apps/V1. It is apps/V1. It is not just apps, kubectl API resources. If you see the replica set, what is the API version for replica set? Kind is replica set. What is the API version? apps/V1. Now, you can give whatever name you want to give. Can I give something like this? Whatever name. Here I can give A, B, C, X, Y, Z also. This is what name? Is it a name for replica set? Whatever I am going to give, that is for this one. Now namespace, replicas is same. Here, only difference comes here. It supports two type of selectors, equality and set. But even though it is equality, I should not use like this. I should not use like this. There is a concept called match labels. Match labels. So under this selector, I need to use a match labels. If I am using match labels, key and value, this is what type of selector in replica set? This is equality. Equality. But does replica set will allow like this as is without this match labels? Can I define like this? Will it allow like this? No. It will not allow. You will get a error. You will get a error. So it should be something like this, match labels. If you want to use this one. Now here you are directly using, but if it is equality in replica set, you have to use like this match labels. This is equality. But if I want to use set based selectors, do I have one more option called match expressions? Here, match expressions. You may have a question, sir, how come it is showing automatically for you? As I already told, do I have that plugin installed? But I don't suggest that one. I open this one just to show you side by side, so that you can easily understand. I open this one just to show side by side, so that you can understand. Now here, when I am using match expressions, can I do something like this? Key operator and values. Key. Can I use whatever key, that label key? Let's say something like this, app. Here, can I use operators like in, not in, something like this, not in, something like this? I can use in. Here, can I match with multiple values like node app? If required, can I map with another value also, like something like this? The value can be either this one or this one, like that. Can I call this as a expressions or set based selectors? Is this type of selector supported in RC? No, only RS. They are supporting. Again, do you mean are you going to use like this? Anyhow, you are giving a label here, something like this. Again, you are giving a label like this, app, node app. You can't give same key multiple values here. Same key multiple values you cannot give here. It is supporting, but it is not mandatory. Can I do something like this? This one I can use. Instead of this one, can I directly use that match labels? Instead of defining that, can I use something like this, match labels app, something like this? This one and also the other one is same. This one and this one is same. This one and other one is same, something like this, match labels you are using. But is it supporting kind of expression based selectors? Is it supporting some kind of expression based selectors here, match labels or match expressions? Other than this, is everything is remains same? Only difference here in the selector, the kind and API version. Other than this, does other fields remain same like replicas, part templates, spec containers, all these things? Yes. Is everyone clear? What is replication set? How different it is from replication controller? In the interviews also they are asking what is the difference between replication controller and replica set? Is everyone clear? The definition of replica set and difference? Now, using replica set also, can I create a pods? Can I scale the pods? Can I manage the pods? Yes. Now let me delete this because I don't want to deploy too many applications. If I keep creating lot of application, does my cluster will break because I already have a lot of applications deployed in this namespace only. If I want to see in all the namespaces, can I do something like this? If you see already lot of pods are running, if I keep deploying lot of pods, does my cluster gets impacted because I'm not using that resources concept? So what I will do, I will delete these applications and I'll demonstrate other applications. But in real time, are you going to do like this? To deploy your application, are you going to delete other application which is already deployed? No, right? You are going to have enough CPU, enough memory, will increase the resources in the cluster. This is just a simple cluster. But in real time, are you going to have some cluster like this with just a 6 GB of memory and 4 CPUs like this? No. As I already told, based on number of pods you want to deploy, you have lot of nodes, lot of servers. Okay. For now, let me delete. Is it do if I do like this, what will happen? Delete all all. Is it going to delete all the resources like replication controllers, services also, or and any other objects in that namespace? Yes. But if I want to delete only replication controllers, can I say something like this? Delete RC all. Delete RC all. Is it going to delete only these replication controllers? Yes. And is this replication controllers internally will it delete these pods? Because I'm deleting this replication controller, it will delete these pods. I'm deleting this one also, it is going to delete these pods. Guys, whenever there is a change in your image, do you need to delete and create a service again? These services, do you need to delete and recreate these services again? Not required. Can I only delete that pods? I mean to say that controllers and redeploy the controllers with new image? Yes. Now I deleted controllers. Internally, it is deleting your pods also, but I have not deleted services. I have not deleted services. You can keep that services. Does this service will consume any CPU and any memory from your cluster, your nodes? No. Your services will not take any consume any CPU and memory. Only pods, the containers. Inside the pod, you have a containers. Does container will take some CPU and memory to run that process, to run that application? Yes. Now, can I deploy same application instead of a replication controller? Can I deploy same application as a replica set also like this? Now, instead of replication controller, can I use replica set? Replica set. The name may be some meaningful name, but if I deploy as is, will I get a message saying that the API version is not correct? Let me show that. If I apply, will I get an error saying that? Is it clearly saying no matches for kind replica set in version v1? Is it clearly saying no matches for kind replica set in version v1? Which means, is that YML correct? Is this API version correct? No. Apps slash v1. Now, without directly applying also, can I do some kind of a dry run like this? Hyphen dry run, something like this. Without instead of applying directly, if required, I can do the dry run. Now, am I getting again message saying that unknown field app under replica set, under specification, under selector. Here it is saying in your replica set specification under selector, it is saying unknown field app. Because as I already told, is it going to support like this selectors as is? So do I need to use either expressions or labels like this? Match labels, labels, match labels with proper indentation again, something like this. Now is it equivalent to that equality based selector? Yes. Now let me do the dry run. Now everything is perfect. Now can I apply that like this? Now can I see? Now instead of replication controller, do I have a replica set? Replica set, one replica set. Now is replica set is creating and managing your pods. If this pod goes down, does this replica set will recreate again? Now if I want to scale imperatively also, can I scale something like this? Do you think this is correct? Do you think this is correct? You no need to be expert in this area, minimum common sense. I'm trying to scale RC, but do I have RC with that name or it is RS? It is RS, right? Now hyphen replicas, something like this I'm saying. Is it saying no replication controller found? Error. Now it is not RC, it is RS. Can I give full name also like this, replica set or sets instead of short form? Yes. Now instead of one pod, can I see two pods now? Replica set, desired to, current to, ready to, like that. Now again, when I access this service, does this service is going to point to these pods because labels and selectors concept comes there? Your service will identify the pods and route the traffic. Yes. This is replica set. Similarly, can I create n number of replica sets based on how many applications you want to deploy? Can I create a replica sets for those many images? If you have enough CPU memory available, enough nodes available. Yes. Now the way we have a replica set, there is a one more Kubernetes resource called a daemon set. There is a one more resource called a daemon set. We have a RC and RS. Similarly, daemon set, DS. DS stands for what in the short form? Daemon set. Now, what is the difference between this replica set and a daemon set? Or what is the difference between this replication controller or daemon set? How different it is from these two? How different it is from these two? Daemon set. In the Docker Swarm, we discussed about two modes, service modes, right? When in the Docker Swarm, we discussed about two modes. One is replica mode, another one is what? In the Docker Swarm, we have two types of service modes. One is replica mode, another one is global mode. Now, this RC and RS is like what? This RC and RS is like a replica mode. Is it going to manage number of pod replicas? Will I able to scale up, scale down my pods using this RC and RS? Yes. Guys, you cannot scale container directly. You cannot scale container directly. If you want to scale the container, will you end up scaling the pod here? Because you need to scale the pod. Pod will have a containers. Kubernetes is not managing the containers. Kubernetes is managing the containers with the help of pods. So this RC and RS is like a replica mode. Will I able to increase and decrease the number of pod replicas in RC and RS? Yes. This daemon set is like what? This daemon set is like a global mode in the Docker Swarm. Now, if I create a daemon set, does daemon set will make sure each and every node in your Kubernetes cluster will have a pod? Will it make sure it will have a pod for the daemon set in each and every node? In each and every node, do you have one pod for the daemon set? Will I able to scale up, scale down daemon sets? I mean to say, will I able to increase and decrease the number of pods for the daemon sets? Will I able to increase and decrease the number of pods if it is a daemon set? No. It's kind of a fixed. Suppose I have 10 nodes in my cluster. If I create a daemon set, in each and every node, do we have one pod? In each and every node, do I have one pod for the daemon set? In later, any point of time also, if I try to add any new node, do I need to do anything required manually to add that pod of the daemon set to the new node? Not required. Does Kubernetes will automatically create a pod for the daemon set in that newly added node also? So what type of applications I can deploy as a daemon sets if I am using Kubernetes? Can I deploy agent-based applications like agent-based softwares like log agents, monitoring agents, like a Prometheus agents, like node exporters, log agents like Fluentd or Logstash? Can I deploy those type of agent-based softwares for monitoring and logging or log aggregation? Now, our own microservices, can I deploy it as a replica mode, kind of a replication controller or replica set? So that based on the load, I can increase, decrease those things. So this is how daemon set works. Now, it is exactly like a replica set only. It is exactly like a replica set only. But what is the difference here? What is the difference here? Oh, sorry. Now, daemon set will make sure that some or all of the Kubernetes will have a copy of that pod for the daemon set. When any new node is added to the cluster, does pod is added to that new node also for the daemon set? Yes. And if something goes wrong with that node, do you think daemon set pods will be shifted to another node? You have a daemon set pods. Do you think this something goes wrong with this node? Do you think these pods will be shifted to other node? No, because this node already has a pod for the daemon set. But if it is a replica mode or replication controller, is it going to make sure the desired number of pod replicas will always exist in the cluster? Yes. Now, deleting a daemon set, is it going to delete the pods which is created by the daemon set again? If I delete daemon set, the pods created by daemon set will be created, deleted. Now the difference here is, if you see, the API version is same, only kind is getting changed. Kind is getting changed. Now here, is it going to allow that replicas? Is it going to allow that replicas field? No, it is not going to allow the replicas field, because each and every node will have a one pod for the daemon set. Just to make it simple, quickly create a daemon set using some image, but I am using this image. In real time, you are going to use that logging image or monitoring agent image, that image created for logging agent, monitoring agent, like that. Now for now, let me use some image, some dummy image. So it is exactly, oh sorry, it is exactly like a replica set. Now this is not supporting the daemon set. Maybe let me take daemon set. But in the daemon set, is it going to allow here something like this, replicas as one, like that also? Is it going to allow replicas with one also? No. Now this is my daemon set name. I can give some name, whatever name, namespace. In which namespace? Let's say I want to deploy this in this namespace. Now like this, labels, Your container name is also nginx, image name is nginx. Now these resources I will explain later. I don't want to get confused you now itself. Now something like this. Now kind is daemon set, API version is this. But if I apply like this, do you think this is going to allow? Now I'm trying to apply this one. Do you think it will allow? That nginx, what it is saying? Is it saying unknown field called replicas in the daemon set, set specification? So it is not allowed there. So it is not allowed because it is not based on the number of replicas. Now if I create a daemon set, how many pods will be created for this daemon set? Now how many pods will be created? Now I have total how many nodes? Total how many nodes? 3 nodes. Now let me apply the daemon set. Let me apply the daemon set. Now let me get all the objects. Now how many pods got created for the daemon set? 2. And if you see pods -o wide, can I see the daemon set pods? This is my daemon set pods. This is my daemon set pods. Do I see one pod running in 93, another pod running in 206? But why it is not running in the master? Why it is not scheduled in the master? Even though it's a daemon set, it is supposed to create a pod in the master also node, because master has a taints. Master has a taints. Is our pod is tolerating the taint? Is our pod is tolerating the taint? In our pod manifest, am I tolerating the taint here? Am I tolerating the taint here? No. Guys, if you observe, in the cube system namespace, do I already have some daemon sets created and some pods are managed by the daemon set? If you see in my cube system namespace, do I already have some daemon sets? That kube proxy and vnet. So as I told, in each and every node, will I have that kube proxy? In the architecture also I have explained. Kube proxy. And this vnet is networking proxy. So is that kube proxy is created as a daemon set whenever any new node added to the cluster, does that kube proxy pod will be get scheduled in that node also? But here, how come it is scheduled in the master? I have that kube proxy pods in the master also. How come it is scheduled in the master? If you see, they have that kube proxy pod in the master 245, the vnet pod also in the 245. How come it is possible? Because is that tolerating that taint? Is that daemon set? Is that pods are tolerating the taint? Whatever we have on the master. Guys, I can do something like this. kubectl describe ds. I want to describe this daemon set. Let's say I want to describe this daemon set. The daemon set is in kube system namespace. Now, if you see, it is giving some details. If I want to see more details, can I use -o YAML option? I want to describe and see in a YML, but describe will not give that YML option. Instead of describe, what I need to use? I need to use get. Now, if you see, is it tolerating? If you see, do I have something called tolerations here? Do I have something called tolerations here in this daemon set manifest? Do I have the tolerations in our manifest? No. So that's why it is not scheduled. But can I do something like this? That toleration comes under your pod specification, not here. The toleration comes under your pod specification. Can I do something like this? Tolerations. Here you have three things: key, operator, and value. And one more thing is effect. So key, operator, value, effect. Now, whatever taint we have on the master, that doesn't have any value. Only key. Let me show you. kubectl get nodes, kubectl describe node. I am describing the master. Now here, master has a taint. It has three things here. Again, I will explain in detail, guys. For now. So it has three things here. One is key equals to value, and the other one is effect. This one is effect. So this key and value can be anything, but effect, there are only three possible values. One is no schedule, another one is prefer no schedule, another one is there is one more, no schedule, prefer no schedule. I forgot the other name. No schedule, prefer no schedule. One second, let me refer the official document. Prefer schedule, no schedule. No schedule is one option. Another one is no execute. Other one is no execute. So we have three possible values: schedule, prefer no schedule, no execute. So now master has a taint. Key is there, but value is not there. Value is not mandatory. This is key. Value is not there. This is the effect. Now if there is no value, I no need to give something like this. This value field is not mandatory if there is no value. Here, taint, tolerations. Can I tolerate this key here? This is my key. I am tolerating. Effect. What is the effect I have on that node? No schedule. Operator. Here, two things: exist and equals. Since there is no value here, I have to use operator as exist. Whatever they have used here, something like this. When I describe, we were able to see that, right? Something like this, exist. But they are not at all using this key and value, this key and effect also, which means they are not at all using this key and effect also, which means whatever taints is there, are they tolerating all the taints? Because they have only effect, only operator. They are not using this key, they are not using this value also, which means whatever taints you have, is that daemon set parts, is that proxy parts will tolerate all the taints, whatever effect, whatever key, because they don't have this one as well as this one. Now I am tolerating like this. Now when I deploy daemon set like this, now is my daemon set will get scheduled pod in the master also, because I am tolerating that. Now I am going to tolerate. I am tolerating now. Now here in my pod spec, I am going to tolerate like this. Now, is it going to schedule in the node where I have these taints, even though I have a taints on some machine? Since I am tolerating this one, now let me apply now. kubectl apply -f nginx ds. Now if you see, let me see the pods. Now do you see that, sorry, in this namespace, now do I have the pod coming in the master also? That daemon set pod, do you see? Is it coming in the master also? kubectl get nodes. Is everyone clear what is daemon set? Taints and tolerations is different concept. But I wanted to make sure what is daemon sets. That's why I was using this toleration in my daemon set pod manifest. Now, will I able to scale up, scale down my daemon sets the way I have scaled up, scaled down my pods? Will I able to scale down, scale up my daemon sets? Will I able to scale up, scale down my daemon sets the way I have scaled my replication set, replication controller? Now, in future, if I add any node also, does that pod will be automatically created for the daemon set, whatever daemon sets I have in any namespace? Whatever daemon sets I have in any namespace, does pods for each daemon set will be created? Now I have a lot of daemon sets, two daemon sets in this namespace, one daemon set in this namespace. For all these daemon sets, does the pods gets created in that newly added node, whatever node I am going to add? Yes. Is everyone clear? What is daemon set? What type of applications I can deploy as a daemon set? Now, is this allowed? Is this allowed? Something like this? Is this allowed? Something like this? No. Is everyone clear, guys? What is daemon set? Very important concept. Now, if I want to delete that daemon set parts, if I delete the DS in that namespace, does the parts of the daemon set get deleted? If I do something like this, kubectl delete DS, the daemon set, is it going to delete the parts of the daemon set from all those nodes? From all those nodes? Yes. Is everyone clear what is daemon set and how it works? Okay. Now, there is a one more Kubernetes object called a deployment. There is one more Kubernetes object called a deployment. This is very, very important. So deployment is a recommended way. Deployment is a recommended way to deploy applications, basically pods in Kubernetes. Why it is recommended? What are the challenges or problems we have with replication controller or replica set? Let me give quick overview. If I am using replication set, if I am using replication controller, now there is a change in my image. Now let's say there is a change in my image. Now I have this application. I have this application. Now I am deploying this application as RC or RS. That doesn't matter. When I am deploying as RC or RS, that doesn't matter. Let's say there is a new image created. If I modify this image tag and apply, do you think existing parts will be deleted and new parts gets created with that new image? If I am using replication controller or replica set, if there is a change in my code, do I need to create a new version of the image for that code? Do I need to deploy that new image instead of old image in my cluster? Yes. But if I change like this from 1 to 2, do you think whatever parts which is running out of this image will be deleted? And do you think are you going to get a new images? New parts with new image if you modify this image and deploy? No. So in that case, do you need to delete and deploy? First, do you need to delete that replication controller? Then do you need to again create with new one? Yes. But if I do that, do I have a downtime? Do I have an outage for my application? If I delete, your parts gets deleted. Then while you are doing that one, if anyone is accessing your application, do you have any parts to serve the traffic? No. So you have a downtime. But I don't want to do that. I want to do the deployments without downtime. Then is it possible with other Kubernetes object called deployment? Using deployment, will I able to achieve that zero downtime deployments? Will I able to update my deployments? Yes. So I will cover that tomorrow. I will cover that tomorrow. Today I have to start the session 20 minutes earlier because I have some other important task to attend. So I'll continue this deployment tomorrow, guys. What is deployment? why deployment, what is the advantages of deployment, why deployment is recommended way. I'll continue tomorrow. Today, try to practice whatever has been discussed. Okay. Thank you, guys. I'll continue tomorrow. Make sure you are attending the session. I don't want to repeat this one. You can understand why I am saying every day, why I am saying make sure you are attending the session, because one topic is related to other topic. All these things will be asked in the interviews. All these things will be used in your day-to-day life if you are working on Kubernetes. If you are already familiar, it will be easy. That's it. Thank you, guys. We'll see you tomorrow with the deployment.